Good afternoon to all of you. Let's have a big round of applause for Danny Barber. He's a great leader. He's upset with me. He didn't like me saying that big boy. I didn't mean big boy in any other way than a very powerful, heavily muscled man. That's what I meant by big boy. And he is a powerful, heavily muscled man, and he's going to lead this effort to victory. You watch. Give him another round of applause. To Jim Walden, who really wrote a very powerful lawsuit. I applaud him in his representation. He told the story very well. First, I want to say to all of you, as the chief representative of the people of the state of New York, I am sorry for the conditions that you are dealing with. I am telling you that no respectable New Yorker will take a walk through that apartment and allow it to continue. New Yorkers are better than this. We are better than this. Housing is not rocket science. You know, we're not trying to solve the Russia hacking problem here. Housing is simple. We know how to build housing, we know how to maintain it. It's a question of political will, and it's a question of priorities. You maintain it, you clean it, you improve it if you want to, if you care. And if you don't care, you don't. And what NYCHA is a testament to, a monument to, is people not caring. Now, Danny said he was emotional. He mentioned A Tale of Two Cities. My father was a great governor named Mario Cuomo. He did a speech at a Democratic convention where he spoke about the tale of two cities. And the tale of two cities means there's one city for the rich and the powerful, and there's another city for the poor and the voiceless. And those two cities are real, and those two cities exist. And in one city for the rich and the powerful, they have the best housing, the best transportation, the best education, the best rights, the best assets you can buy. But then there's another city, which is the forgotten city, where the poor live, who don't make big contributions to political campaigns, who can't hire the fancy lawyers, and they're forgotten. NYCHA is the city of the poor. NYCHA is the plight of the poor. Do you think if you had wealthy and powerful residents in NYCHA units, they would have ever allowed it to get to this condition? Do you think it's a coincidence that the day before I show up, the city shows up to clean up the garbage? Do you think it's a coincidence that last week we went and visited an apartment that was hell? It was hell. And the next day the city showed up and now it's a brand new apartment. Well, if that's what it's going to take to fix an apartment, if that's what it's going to take to clean up a NYCHA unit, I will show up at every NYCHA unit in the city of New York. Now, as Danny explained, I've been working in housing all my life. I'm an old man now, but I started in my 20s building affordable housing all over the city of New York. Then I spent 8 years, I was in President Bill Clinton's cabinet as the head of HUD, Secretary of HUD. I've been through public housing all across this nation, literally every state in this nation. I've been there and I've gone through their public housing. The conditions that I've seen here in NYCHA are some of the worst I have seen anywhere. And the shame is, NYCHA at one time was the model of public housing. It was the best. It's gone from the best to the worst. That's what's happened at NYCHA. Mayor LaGuardia, a great mayor, when he started public housing, he said, I'm opening up a new life for people where dreams can thrive. You now have buildings of misery. Taft houses, the heat goes out on Christmas Eve. It's like a bad Dickens novel. You have the heat still going on and off. You have children living with asthma in units with mold. This is New York City. This is not a third world country. Now, the way public housing works, as Danny explained, it's a federal program that is run by the city of New York. State, unfortunately, has no role in the ownership or the management. I wish I did. Because then I promise you change would come, and change would come quicker. To the federal government, I say to Mr. Trump, you promised to make America great again. I want you to visit NYCHA Housing and tell me if you made America great again. I want you to tell me if you're committing the resources to let people live in what this nation promised. 1949. You know the promise of the nation in 1949? Safe, clean, decent housing for every American. That was 1949. I want President Trump to come look at the unit I just looked at and tell me, is that safe, clean, decent housing? Take a walk through a NYCHA complex and tell me, Mr. President, is that safe, clean, decent housing? And when you're giving a tax cut to the richest Americans, did you think of taking care of the people who are living in public housing? That's what Mr. Trump has to live with. And I want to say to the city of New York, they are responsible for the management of these units. Now, I want to applaud Councilman Richie Torres, who's this young, good-looking fella to my left. Councilman Torres, I have a good-looking fella to my right, too, but I'm not there. Councilman Torres, in many ways, exposed the problems in public housing. Because, see, in the other city, on the tale of two cities, nobody comes and nobody sees and nobody cares. So you needed someone to stand up and say, I'm going to bring a light to what's going on at NYCHA. And Councilman Torres did that. And he did hearings, and he brought NYCHA to the hearings. And they couldn't answer any of the questions. Is there lead paint in the units? I don't know. Did you take the lead paint out of the units? I don't know. How long is it going to take you to fix a unit? I don't know. How long has the heat been out? I don't know. How many units have been without heat? I don't know. Well, they should know. He brought attention to the matter. And I met with him and members of the city council. I said, now you have to take step 2. You know what step 2 is? Do something about it. Do something about it. Government is about action. Government is about results. You expose the problem, now fix it. You all want to give a speech about how you're great progressives and New York is the progressive capital of the nation. No, it's not when you have people living in the filth that we have at NYCHA. You're hypocrites if that's what you call progressive. Progressive is actually doing something about it. Now, what can the state do? I stand with you 100%. 100%. Because you are the tale of two cities. And I have been with you all my life, following my father's footsteps, following the footsteps of Bill Clinton. Government is supposed to serve the people who are forgotten first. And those are the people of NYCHA. I hear Mr. Walden's requests. I agree to all of them. Number one, you need an independent contractor to come here to do the work because NYCHA cannot. They admitted it when they say it's going to take us 4 years to make change. 4 years. 4 years? No heat? 4 years more of mold? 4 years more of asthma? Forget it, it's a non-starter. I said to my colleagues in the state government, you want to give money to NYCHA? You think that's going to turn on the heat? You know what would be a better use of $200 million? Get a big $200 million worth of cash, put it in a barrel, put it in the lobby, light it on fire, at least it will create some heat for the building. That would be a better way than giving the money to NYCHA. Get an independent contractor who's a professional, who knows how to do it. That's what we do on the state side. We're building a new airport, we're building bridges, we're building the train stations. I don't have government doing it. We go out, we get the best private contractor who knows how to do it, and they do it fast and they do it right. And we know NYCHA is not the best, most efficient, most effective way to do it. Otherwise they would have done it. You look at the half repairs that they do in these units, it's a disgrace. So I agree with you, we need an independent contractor. I agree with you that you have to have a voice at the table. You are tenants who pay rent. And we see what has happened when you're not at the table. You don't need a bunch of bureaucrats making decisions about your life and your family. You know what the priority projects are. You should be part of the process to select a contractor, prioritize the projects, and oversee the projects because it's your life, your kids, your future, and you're paying the rent. And then Mr. Walden asked me to put up more money. I was afraid Mr. Walden was going to do that because that's what the lawyers always do. They always ask for more money. Now here's the situation. The state, as I said, the federal government runs the program, the city manages it, the state has no role. Despite that, the state has already pledged $200 million when we have a way to actually make it effective. We have 150 housing authorities in the state, 150. New York City has one, Buffalo has one, Rochester has one, etc. We never give any significant money to the housing authorities. It's always the federal government and the city. But I'm going to fight the legislature to make an exception for NYCHA. Because the best way to lead is by leadership. And even though the state has no financial responsibility, I'm going to fight for another $250 million for NYCHA residents because I want to say to this federal government and this city government, it's time to lead and show the void and show the vacuum and the lack of leadership. So we get an independent contractor. You were at the table. The state will, I'll fight for another 250. I can't do that on my own. I have to fight something called the New York State Legislature. Many of the members are here now, so I want to be nice about them. But as long as I have, let me just get one vote. Do you support the 250 area? I have Robert Rodriguez. Where are you, Robert? Do you support the 250 million? Okay. I have 2 votes. I have 2 votes. Well, we need about another 150. But we're going to get them. We're going to get them. Independent contractor, your voice at the table. We'll pledge more money as a way to say to this city and this federal government, remember the tale of 2 cities. And remember that New York City was always about lifting those who were in the other city. And there is no New York who would allow these conditions to continue. But your voice has to continue. Danny Barber's exactly right. Jim Walden is only as strong as you. You are 400,000 people. You want to get the attention of the politicians? You say 400,000. You want to get these newspapers to start writing the truth and start writing about the other city? You say we're 400,000 people and we buy your newspapers too. You want to get people to support you? Expose the conditions and the truth will out. There is no one who will see what I saw and allow it to continue. Thank you and God bless you.
So the problems that we have seen here today are bigger here than anywhere else. On the island of Manhattan, where the 1% rule, we have more income inequality than anywhere else. But it is time for us to look at that income inequality and the problems that are existing in NYCHA and stare them in the face and state change has to happen now.
Standing for what is right, standing for fairness, standing for saying that we as a state.
A short message from Treatment Partners of America, saving lives.
We all live busy lives. We work hard trying to balance our responsibilities and time with our families. We make sacrifices to take care of them and give them a better life, but this often leaves us unable to take care of ourselves. Now we may be faced with tough circumstances that sometimes lead to decisions that could be detrimental to ourselves and all of those who we care for. Getting help may seem difficult. You may think you're letting your family down, but in reality, going into drug and alcohol treatment program is a small investment that can yield a lifetime of benefits for you and your family. In the right environment, with a proper caring team devoted to progress and an honest willingness to overcome your problems, going into treatment can be the best decision that you have ever made.
This public service announcement has been made possible by your friends at Treatment Partners of America, your partner in recovery.
We're here with Councilmember Bill Perkins. Sir, you're out here supporting the community like always. What's the end game here?
The end game is the victory that gets the resources and the politicians and obviously most importantly the community lined up to take care of the problems that we're confronted with. And there is no excuse for us to have to, at this point in time, be struggling still with these long-term conditions. This is not an overnight problem. This has been going on and on and on, and the people have been protesting that they have not been getting the kind of attention. And I hope that the governor's presence this time makes the difference.
We're here at Taft Houses. We're joined by local Assemblyman Robert Rodriguez. Sir, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Clark.
What's going on here today? Are events like this, do they make a difference?
Everything makes a difference. When our tenants can get active and voice the concerns and bring light to the issues that are happening in public housing, every one of these rallies makes a difference. And we're at a critical juncture. The needs of NYCHA are $7 billion, and here in East Harlem, we are the epicenter for the tragedy that is public housing right now. What used to be the best housing in the country is now the worst, and there's $7 billion worth of disrepair. We need everybody on deck. This is not just a federal problem. It's not a city problem. It's not a state problem. It's a problem that affects 400,000 New Yorkers. So we all have to be involved in solving that. And here we are to give voice to their concerns and show what's happening and what will continue to happen if we don't step up and invest.
The governor is on his way out here to this event. What is the end game?
I think the end game is making sure that there is a significant state investment, but one that is a smart investment, one that involves cutting through red tape to actually build the things that we need quicker. Hopefully that includes design, build authorization so that we can move faster on these projects. because I think the state is, at the point where we're going to come in and start making significant investments. I think we, in the budgets that we've put in over the last few years, we're up to almost $500 million in what's been committed and what is proposed. And we know that there's more to do, but we want to make sure that we do it to start addressing the boilers, the mold, the heating issues, the water issues that are in all of our developments, and do it quickly.
Well, sir, thank you so much. I know that you speak from the heart. You're from the community.
Well, born and raised in East Harlem. My family comes out of Carver, so we're tied to public housing, and we want to see it be what it used to be and what it can be, the cornerstone of affordable housing for low-income and working families in our communities.
Doing great work. Continued success.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We're blessed to have a real community guy, someone that everyone loves. Senator Benjamin. Everyone says, Benjamin, you gotta. And tomorrow you have a big day.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The city council member, my predecessor, Bill Perkins, will be endorsing me on 1/10 and 8th. It's going to be an incredible honor. I just can't wait to be standing there with Bill Perkins, because he was a legendary member in this seat. There were so many people who told me in the Upper West Side, "You're replacing Bill Perkins. Where's he going?" I mean, crying. People passing out in the streets, just upset that Bill Perkins will no longer be their state senator. And so I'm just trying to live up to his legacy by, standing for the tenants. And, he taught me well, so I'm trying to do that. Thank you.
Off the record, I'm a big fan.
Thank you so much.
Now,
Thank you.
Today, what's the end game? I understand that the governor wants to give $250 million.
Right.
But
Well,
there is a process.
There's a big process. The Assembly and the Senate, which I'm a part of, they have to, the Assembly and the Senate, which I'm a part of, we have to agree. And so we have to bring that to him. So it's going to be part of the negotiations. I believe we should do $500 million, but, then zero. But we'll go through that process, and then we'll get that done. But we also need to make sure that the federal government does its part and provides the $20 billion that it's required to do, so that when we're bringing $500 million, that is for extra stuff. It's not for the core pipes, infrastructure, elevators. It's just for maintenance. Our money should be maintenance money, not capital money. And that's what we need to get from the federal government. And so they have to be a part of this conversation, because that's where all the money is. He's talking about $1 trillion infrastructure fund to do roads and bridges and highways. Are the roads and bridges and highways more important than people? I don't think so.
I also heard that he wants to get private contractors.
Correct.
to handle this.
So part of the thought is that right now it takes such a long, because we have a design build process. And so it takes you a couple of years just with the bureaucracy of our process to get any work done. So you allocate the money and it takes forever to get the money out. So we're talking about, let's do design build, let's take out the bid part, do design and build at the same time. It'll cut at least a year or two off the process. But then also, let's have an independent contractor who just knows what they're doing, who just comes in and just rushes right through. Right. And they can have all the prevailing wage laws and all the things you need to do, but let's show that we need to do this right now. And I think that every contractor should be able to bid on these things, and so I believe in that.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Senator, thank you so much for
Thank
taking the
you.
time. Don't change.
I won't.
Everyone loves you.
I won't.
You're going to get elected once again.
Thank you.
I think you're going to be around for a long time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you,
sir.
Clark.
Okay, I'm here joined by Councilmember Richie Torres, Chairman. Doing a great job. Thank you. He has subpoena powers now, and have you used the power of the subpoena as of yet?
No, but we threatened the use of subpoena in order to obtain information. So the first investigation that we held was centered around public housing. As you know, we had one of the worst cold spells where we saw a citywide collapse of heating systems in public housing. We had residents freezing in their own homes, relying increasingly on space heaters, which are known fire hazards. You had residents leaving their oven on, risking death from exposure to carbon monoxide, putting their own lives at risk out of desperation for heat and hot water for the bare necessities of life. And the mayor and the chairperson said publicly that 97% of the residents of public housing had consistent heat and hot water, giving the impression that there was nothing wrong, that there was no crisis. So we said, we don't believe you. We're going to conduct our own investigation. We want access to your databases. NYCHA originally said no. We said we're going to issue a subpoena. NYCHA cooperated. And as a result of our own investigation, we found that 323,000 residents at various points in the heating season were deprived of heat and hot water. So it's a heating crisis on the scale of 323,000 residents is a humanitarian crisis. It's a state of emergency. And that's why I'm so grateful for the intervention of the governor. Right? If the mayor is failing the residents of public housing, then I'm grateful that the governor is coming to our rescue.
Councilmember Torres, I just want to say I thank you so much. You're a breath of fresh air to the New York City Council. Continued success.
I appreciate that. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
The governor visits Taft houses and has a rally outside joined by elected officials from all different parts. Let's see what the end game will be. The folks have spoken, the elected officials have spoken. Let's see what's next. I thank you for joining us. I'm Clark Benya, and this is your Advocates Corner.